Hey, I'm Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in the game, Pan Am. Here's what Pan Am looks like. So this is a route building game with a really actually neat mechanism that isn't my favorite mechanism, but it is one that I really enjoyed that I just thought of as I'm looking at this map, where a core part of the game is that Pan Am is not played by any particular player. Pan Am is kind of an NPC entity that spreads out as you play the game. And it's actually a good thing. You want Pan Am to spread out to a route that you have already claimed so that Pan Am will buy that route for you. Pan Am has limitless amounts of money in this game, and they are giving you that money if they spread to your route, which is somewhat random, but you can try to get close to the routes where Pan Am is spreading out. I thought that was a really neat way to have something that is spreading and dividing the game that you actually want to be close to, that feels good because you want to be taken over by Pan Am in this game. So I really like that. My favorite mechanism, though, is there are all these different worker placement spaces. There's a place to get airports. There's a place to get new types of planes that you put on longer and longer routes. You can get these cards that you can use to secure the routes. You need this action to actually get a route. And then there's this directive action. And this is my favorite action in the game. This directive action is essentially kind of delayed worker placement. You are putting a worker here, and you are getting a card that you can spend at certain times in the game. The card will tell you when to spend it. It's a special ability, one-time ability. They're all good, but it's random, so you don't know how good it will be for your particular strategy. But after you put a worker there, after you get the card, at the beginning of the next round, no matter what the player order is, if your pawn is first on this directive slot, so if you're the first player in the previous round to place a pawn on the directive, you get to place that worker first in the next round. Now, each of these areas is an auction. So placing first is a big advantage, but it doesn't actually mean that you'll get that action. If I place on, say I want this cruiser, and I put my pawn on the 6th spot, that means that if no one places a pawn higher than mine, I will end up paying $6 to get this cruiser. But if someone else puts a pawn on the 8 or the 10, my pawn is bumped back. I don't get that action. So it isn't, it's one of these things where delayed worker placement feels really good because you get first dibs on any of these auction actions, but you don't necessarily end up getting that action. But it still feels good. And I really like that you are getting something immediately. You're getting this directive card, this random element, and then you are getting more control. So you're giving up some agency in the short term to get more control in the next round because you get to be among the first players to place workers. You are either the first or this gray worker is the next worker to place. And then you go around with regular worker placement. I liked this so much that it reminded me of the other game that does this that I'm aware of. I think there are probably a few other worker placement games that do it. But Lords of Waterdeep has a very similar mechanism to this, where in Lords of Waterdeep, there's an action where you can go to play an intrigue card. So instead of gaining a random card, you go there to play the card. And after you do, after that entire round is complete, you actually get that worker back and you get to place it on another space on the board. So you are giving up a space that you might actually want because you don't have all that much control over which spaces are available at the end of the round, but you essentially get 2 actions in one round. You get the action where you play the intrigue card, and you get the second action where you place the worker on another spot later in the round, which feels really good to get 2 actions out of 1 worker. So this element of delayed worker placement feels really good. I really like it in Lords of Waterdeep, and I definitely like it in Pan Am too. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you've played Pan Am, or if you can think of another game with delayed worker placement like this, where you place a worker in a temporary spot to do something small, and then later on that round or in the next round, you get to place that worker again. Let me know if you can think of any other games like that in the comments below. Thanks.